Welcome to Bible study. I'm so glad you're here with us today. This summer, we have been reading stories and learning some about the Old Testament. Let's see what we can remember. Do you think you can remember some of the names of the first 10 books of the Old Testament? Let's say them together. And if you're not sure about one or more, that's okay. Just listen when I say it, and then you can repeat it after me. By hearing it and saying it, you'll help learn it and be able to remember it. Let's start at the beginning with Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. Great job. I love when we know the names of the books of the Bible. It helps us get to know our Bibles better, and it helps us be able to use our Bibles. This morning in worship, Mr. Dennis Hill, a member of our church, is going to read from the book of Genesis. We know where that is. That's the first book in the Old Testament. And so we can open up our Bibles right to the beginning and find the book of Genesis. There it is. We also learned a trick last week. We practiced looking up the book of Psalms. Do you remember the trick for how you can find the book of Psalms in your Bible? Usually it's about in the middle. If we open up to the middle of our Bible, we'll find the Psalms. And I found them right here in mine. Now, there's a lot of books in the Bible. So we've got the first 10 that we know. And there's a couple more. And then there's the Psalms. And then there's some more. And then it comes to a section in the Old Testament, books of prophets. And this is what I want to talk about today, because we are going to be reading a story of one of the prophets. Now, before we read the story, it is helpful for you to know what a prophet is. Have you heard of a prophet before? This type of prophet that we're going to be talking about is a person who has a job from God to share a message with a group of people. Sometimes prophets brought good news of hope and good things to come. Sometimes prophets brought bad news and had to tell people they were not doing things that God wanted them to do. Today's story begins with a young boy. Maybe he was about your age. And God spoke to this young boy and told him that he would become a prophet. His name was Jeremiah. And we can find the book of Jeremiah in the Bible. It's after the Psalms. So I opened back up to the Psalms, and then I flipped a few pages, and I found the book of Isaiah. Isaiah is the first prophet in our Bible. And then if I keep turning past Isaiah, Isaiah is a long book. Then I come to the book of Jeremiah. And we are going to be reading and learning about who Jeremiah is and what God wanted Jeremiah to do in our story time today. Jeremiah and a New Covenant, from Jeremiah 1 through 10, and 31 through 40. Jeremiah, the son of the priest Hilkiah, lived in Anathoth, the land of Benjamin. When he was still a boy, he heard the voice of God speaking to him. Before you were even born, I knew you and chose you to be a prophet. Jeremiah said, But God, I am too young. I don't know how to speak to people. God answered, Do not say that you are too young. You will go where I send you, and you will speak the messages I give you. Do not be afraid. I will be with you." Then God touched Jeremiah's mouth and said, "I have put my words in your mouth. I am calling you to speak to nations. Sometimes your words will help pull down what needs to be destroyed. Sometimes your words will cause seeds of new life to grow." God first spoke to Jeremiah when Josiah was king of Judah. Many years later, when Jeremiah was much older, Jerusalem was captured, and many of its people were taken to Babylon. In the midst of these hard times, Jeremiah brought a message of hope. Jeremiah spoke for God. "The time is coming when I will make a new covenant with Israel and Judah. It will not be like the old covenant. The people broke that covenant, even though I led them out of slavery in Egypt. This is the covenant I will make. I will put my law within the people, and I will write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. I will forgive the wrong they have done, and they shall all know me, from the least important to the most powerful." Jeremiah continued, "This is what God says. As long as the sun, the stars, and the moon stay in their places, and the waves of the seas continue to roll, the people of Israel will be my people. The time is coming when the walls of the city will be rebuilt. The valley and all that surrounds the city will be sacred places, and this will be true forever." I wonder how Jeremiah felt when he spoke God's words. I wonder how the people felt when they heard God's new covenant. I wonder what plans God has had for you since before you were born. What do you wonder? As we wrap up our time together today, I want to teach you a prayer. And this prayer is going to use your whole body. So make sure that you have some space to move. We're going to begin with our hands together and our heads bowed. And we're going to say, "Dear God." Now we're going to wrap our arms around ourselves and say, "I love you." Now we will reach up to heaven and bring our hands down to our chest as we say, "You are my God." Now we'll point to ourselves and lift our hands back up as we say, "I belong to you." Then we'll think about how Jeremiah spoke for God, and we'll say, "May I speak your words?" And then we'll walk in place and say, "And do your deeds." And then we'll finish our prayer the way we began and say, "Amen." Let's say this prayer together one more time. Dear God, I love you. You are my God. I belong to you. May I speak your words and do your deeds. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us for Bible study today. I hope I will see you online this week as we gather every day for Vacation Bible School. We have great things planned for you, and you're going to see a lot of familiar faces as we hear Bible stories, pray prayers, think about what we're learning, and have a lot of fun. I hope that you will join us, and I'm looking forward to a great week together. I'll see you tomorrow morning.